This time, I'll call State of Arizona versus Adam Smith, CR 2023-00379. I'll let the parties put your appearances on the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Daniel Noble for the state, and also present on Zoom is the victim, Ms. Bliski.
All right, thank you.
Afternoon, Your Honor. Joe Tobler for Adam Smith, who is in custody to my right.
All right, thank you. Given that the victim is present, the court is going to read the victim's rights advisory. If you are the victim of a crime with a case pending before this court, you're advised that you have rights to justice and due process under Arizona law that, among others, include the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, to a speedy trial, and to a prompt and final conclusion of the case. You have a right to be present at court proceedings, to choose whether or not to be interviewed by the defendant or the defendant's attorney, to be heard before the court makes a decision on release, negotiation of a plea, scheduling and sentencing, and to receive restitution from a person who's been convicted of causing your loss. If you've not already been provided with a written statement of all victims' rights, you may contact the Victim Services Division of the Prosecutor's Office to obtain one. So at this time, we're here. This was the time that we were scheduled for contested Rule 11 hearing. The court understands that Dr. Pardee has had some personal issue that has made it not possible for her to be present to participate here today, and that there's also a possibility of an additional evaluation conducted by the doctor retained by the defense. The court hasn't received that yet. So I understand that the parties are in agreement that we'll go forward and hear the testimony from Dr. Linksey today, and then we'll continue the matter to another date to hear from the additional, or at least additional one, if not two doctors on that date. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And with that, well, just since it's a bit of a housekeeping matter, why don't we try to figure out the day that we could do that just here at the outset. Would it be possible for the parties to try to do that on July 17th at 1:30?
That works with the state. I'll have to confirm with Dr. Pardee. I think there are other two dates that seem more likely based on everyone's availability that she was available, but I'll double check with her on the 17th.
What are there other dates that are available? So 17th, I have a meeting in Mesa at 4 p.m. It'd be a little bit tight. I can move that meeting possibly, but it's
okay.
Move all the other 7 people.
Beyond that, the next date I have would be August 5th at 2 o'clock.
That's good for defense, Your Honor.
August 5th, I am out. I know the court, Mary had previously sent August 8th.
August 8th at 1 o'clock is also available.
I'm available that date, and Dr. Pardee is available.
I can do that, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll set this, the continuation of the hearing for August 8th at 1 o'clock.
And Your Honor, I ask that the subpoenas be in continuing effect for that date as well.
So ordered. And at this time, were there any other matters that the parties wanted to address before we got underway?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. And then the state may call its first witness.
And thank you, Your Honor. The state does call Dr. Chris Linksey.
All right, Dr. Linksey, if you could come on and take yourself off of mute and turn on your video.
Okay, I'm off mute. It's saying the video is disabled by host.
All right, let me see if I can change that.
Thank you. Yes, there it is. Looks like it's working now.
Okay, that wasn't me. That must have been my assistant that solved that. But good afternoon. The court at this time will place you under oath. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and put your hand down, and you may proceed with your direct examination at this time, Mr. Noble.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Linksey, can you please spell your first and last name for the court reporter?
Certainly. Christopher, last name Lin as in Nancy, Skey.
And where do you work?
I work at the Guidance Center here in Flagstaff.
And what is your role there?
I work as a psychiatrist, and I am currently the medical director of the Guidance Center.
And so you're a licensed psychiatrist in Arizona?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the Rule 11 requirements and any training associated with that?
Yes.
And when did you do that training?
I've done the training 4 times in the last 20 years, with the last one being in 2011. And I'm scheduled to do the training next month for my subsequent one, but I've done 4 times in the last 20 years.
Okay. And so you're familiar with those standards and procedures?
Yes.
And also, are you familiar with the DSM-5 manual?
Yes.
And what is that?
DSM-5 stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association. Basically, it's a handbook that codifies and delineates different mental health diagnoses based on different criteria or standards of presentation. For example, the presence or absence of certain symptoms within a certain time frame that allows a clinician to come up with a more likely than not accurate diagnosis of someone with a mental health condition.
Okay. And in that manual, does it discuss delusional disorder?
It does.
And what is that?
Delusional disorder is a disorder that falls under the realm of psychosis. Psychosis meaning basically a detachment from reality. And delusional disorder is unique from other illnesses such as schizophrenia in that it typically does not have auditory or visual hallucinations, but it typically has a primary feature of fixed delusions, which are false beliefs that cannot be challenged by alternative information. And this delusional presentation typically is one of a suspicious or paranoid nature that makes it very difficult for the individual to engage with society because their reality is markedly altered because of this disorder.
Okay. And what are those diagnostic? Are those the only 2 diagnostic features of that, or are there more?
The diagnostic criteria are the presence of fixed false delusions. I believe it has to be greater than a 30-day period, which impair the ability of the person to function in more than 2 realms, such as legal, social, relationship, economic, educational, and it's not better explained by another diagnosis such as schizophrenia or a substance-induced condition.
Okay. And also, what is a personality disorder according to DSM-5?
A DSM-5 personality disorder is a characterologic disorder or impairment of a variety of different domains that is long-standing, typically established in early childhood, transitioning into a diagnostic category in adulthood, and they can have a variety of different features. Typically, a personality disorder differs from a Axis 1 or a non-personality disorder, a functional psychiatric disorder, because it tends to be long-standing. It generally does not tend to develop or worsen over time. It's a pervasive pattern of an interactional style in multiple ways. It also does not extend into the realm of psychosis, as can be the case, for example, in paranoid personality disorder. The presence of a delusion cannot be part of the criterion that can be explained by a paranoid personality disorder.
Okay. And can it also have narcissistic features as well?
There are actually, I think there's 10 different personality disorders over 3 different areas. Cluster A, for example, is the psychotic area, which has paranoia, paranoid personality disorder, schizotypal, schizoid personality disorder. Cluster B has narcissistic, histrionic, antisocial, and borderline personality disorder. And then cluster C has avoidant, dependent, obsessive compulsive, and I think personality disorder not otherwise specified. So I guess there's technically 11 different personality disorders if you consider the last one, but narcissistic personality disorder is one of the personality disorders, yes.
And you also mentioned, I think, paranoid or paranoia.
Yeah, paranoid personality disorder is considered a personality disorder by itself.
Okay. Now I want to talk about your evaluation you did with Mr. Adam Smith. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And when did you do your most recent evaluation?
The more recent evaluation was done February 6th. That's incorrect. I'm sorry. Let me just have it here, and I don't see it. Give me a second. I apologize. I think it was April. It was April 16th. I saw him most recently.
Thank you. And what information did you review prior to that evaluation?
Before that evaluation, I reviewed my previous evaluation, which had been done in February of 20. Is that true? No, I'm incorrect. In October of 2023. I also reviewed a large packet which included the court order, police reports associated with the charges. I also reviewed multiple pages of his handwritten documents associated with the case. I spoke with the jail staff and the nurse practitioner there about their observations associated with him as well.
Did you review any videos or audio as well?
Yes, I did. Thank you for reminding me. For that case in particular, I reviewed a video transcript of the defendant in court, I believe, interacting with the judge.
And what did you notice about Mr. Smith in that April 16th meeting?
I had met with him before, and the intensity of his belief system had greatly increased to the point that his sense of paranoia and unusual beliefs had extended beyond what would be considered beliefs or thought patterns into the intensity of delusions, as evidenced by the extreme nature of his beliefs and the extreme nature of the disconnection from reality, but probably most importantly, his inability to challenge those beliefs. When I had met with him back in October, it was more of a discussion. He was able to acknowledge that perhaps he could be wrong, that he could listen to alternate ideas and consider theories that were different than his own beliefs. When I met with him approximately 16 months later, he was very intense in his beliefs, was not willing to consider alternate explanations to things that he perceived to be true, and his nature of the beliefs was much less attached to any type of reality, even somewhat fringe reality that I could find online, and seemed to have kind of unfortunately crystallized into unique delusions about himself that could not be challenged, which again rose from a level of belief or ideation to a level of delusional belief with an intensity that would meet diagnostic criteria, in my opinion, for a delusional disorder.
But generally, when you met with him in October of 2022, did he have those same general beliefs back then?
He did.
The difference was just the intensity?
Correct.
And what were some of those, just generally some of those topic areas that you discussed with him?
Some of the areas, well, they were a bit different. When I discussed with him back in October of 2023, a lot of it had to do with the COVID vaccine, the belief that taking the COVID vaccine would fundamentally change the DNA of an individual such that the person would no longer be technically human in the eyes of the law, but rather be a modified animal, and therefore the normal laws that would pertain towards crimes against humans would not apply, but crimes against animals could apply, which might sound extreme, and he explained it pretty rationally to me, even though I disagreed with it. After the fact, he gave me websites to look up, and yeah, there's a pretty large community of people that would share this belief. He was able to acknowledge that perhaps he was wrong, because I said, I don't think the COVID vaccine integrates into the DNA. And he had said, well, I'm pretty sure it does, but maybe it doesn't. But if it does, then this would be true. And that would be evidence to the extent that he could engage in a discussion about it. in meeting with him 4 months ago, he continued to have fears about COVID, but his fears were much more persecutory, that there was some type of entity trying to silence him from getting this information out to people. He believed that there were an entity associated with the Freemasons that I had not been familiar with, but I looked up and it does exist. If I may, just to quote the name, the Ordo Templi Orientis, which I learned is a real thing, associated with Satanism and Freemasonry, based on my internet review. He expressed beliefs and concerns that the judge in the case, as well as his previous attorney, Adam Zickerman, was involved in some of these elements associated with rights of homosexuals, Satanism, and child sexual contact. He was concerned that he would be killed if he left the jail because he knew too much as it related to these issues, and there were forces, including the Guidance Center and myself, that might want to have him killed to silence him. He indicated that he would much rather prefer facing multiple years in prison in order to have a platform to expose these beliefs, as opposed to take a favorable plea, which would allow him to have time served. When I asked him to explain why he would pass up a favorable plea, which would allow him to avoid the risk of many years in prison as well as afford his freedom, it was not necessarily because he wanted to defend his innocence or to avoid a felony, but rather he was afraid he would be killed if he left, and that the plea was a setup, and he was longing for a place to have a platform to express these beliefs that he expressed to me, which were of a delusional nature, which to me would not be competent because he was exposing himself to great legal risk because of a distorted reality pattern in the context of a psychiatric condition.
And thank you. And also in review of his letters, do they have similar concerns as well?
Yes, his multiple letters, I believe I have them here. They reference things about Satanism, child sexual issues. I believe there were concerns of, I'm thinking back here where there were mechanisms that he could sense Bluetooth communications in people who had received the COVID vaccine. He had referenced something, I did not follow everything, but he did reference something about being able to smell people of the Jewish faith who had died and had been infected with COVID, which seemed well out of the context of reality or concern.
Okay. And also in review of, I think, that transcript as well, did that also, from the court proceeding, did that
Yes.
also have additional concerns?
What I was more struck by in that, I'm sure there were, but I remember his inability to kind of self-regulate his impulsive interruptions of the court. His outbursts would impair his ability to participate meaningfully in his defense. And honestly, I don't remember from the transcript if there was anything unique to them that I had not already referenced, but they did contain elements of the same type of paranoid, non-reality-based persecutory delusions that I had referenced, but honestly, I don't remember anything that stands out from them as compared to other things that I had mentioned already.
And part of your evaluation with Mr. Smith, I think you go over the understanding of his legal issues. Is that part of it?
Correct, yes.
And what is that first section that you go through with individuals?
Usually I go through the understanding of charges and possible penalties. He was able to tell me that he was facing charges of attempted murder, but he did indicate that they reduced it to disorderly conduct. And by that, he made the leap. It means that he is to be killed. And when I explored that with him, he said there's no reason they would take it from attempted murder to disorderly conduct with release unless they were trying to get him in a non-protected place where he could be killed. So he was aware of his charges, and he is aware that if he went to court, or that he had a deal that could allow him to be out of jail relatively soon, though he would prefer to go to court in order to get an opportunity to testify, and he would prefer to take that risk in order to have the opportunity to have a platform on which to expose and discuss his beliefs.
And thank you. And just so we're clear, not discussing the specific statements that he told you, but it was just to expose those beliefs that you've already discussed,
Correct.
and not necessarily facts associated with the case.
Correct.
And so there was no real issue with him understanding the charges or possible penalties then?
No.
And what about understanding the trial participants and procedures?
There appeared to be no impairments there. He did indicate a significant amount of distrust with the courtroom in general, citing specific attorneys and the judge in this case, as he felt they were related to issues of Satanism and sexuality.
Okay. And what about his understanding of a plea bargain?
When we spoke in October of 2023, he had demonstrated a good understanding of a plea bargain. I did not ask him the specifics again this time, as I relied on the fact that he was presenting in cognitively a clear way, and he likely had the same understanding. We did talk more about the plea that he was offered and why he would not accept it, but I would have no reason to believe that he had lost his ability to understand what a plea bargain had been. When I spoke with him in 2023, if I may.
In 23 or 25?
In 2023, he was able to comment that a plea bargain was that where you agree to be, you agree you'll be guilty of a lesser charge and the prosecutor decreases your sentence. At that point, I documented, we discussed this, and he seems to have a good understanding. And when I talked to him 16 months later in 2025, I did not ask specifics about it, but basically he was talking about how the plea itself that he was offered proved his own point, that he would not be offered such a favorable plea unless the system was trying to expose him to the threat of death outside an incarcerated setting.
Okay. And there are two other areas. The ability to recount or recall timing of the offense, was there any issue with that?
No, he was able to describe that clearly.
And what about the quality of the relationship that you were aware of with the defense? Was there any issue at that time?
No, he was having a hard time with his previous person, defense counsel, I should say, who was Adam Zickerman. His current attorney was Joseph Tobler, I believe, and he did indicate a good degree of trust in him, indicating that Mr. Tobler was good at communicating. No, he's a good attorney, but communicating with him is a problem. He felt a degree of trust in his attorney, and that his attorney, in quotes, believes me, close quotes.
And what about the issues with the prior counsel? What were those issues?
Prior counsel with Adam Zickerman, he couldn't work with him because he believed Adam Zickerman was a proponent of adult-child sexual normalization. And so he would refuse to work with them, even though he could not give me any explanation or reasoning as to why he believed Mr. Zickerman supported essentially pedophilia.
And is that part of his delusions?
It appeared to be. In meeting with him, he was very animated and spoke in a very rapid tone with a pressured quality. And at times I struggled to make sure that I documented clearly everything that he was saying to me. He did make reference to concerns that he couldn't trust Mr. Zickerman because of the apparent incorporation that the defendant had of Mr. Zickerman into his delusions associated with pedophilia and the legalization of it.
And then what about the effect on his decision-making ability? What was that like?
I did not at all see evidence to support that he was rationally competent. He felt that he was trying to be pushed into a plea, indicating that he had been banned from the internet and that he was looking forward to testifying, to have a chance to voice his multiple concerns, to put them on the record. And he was aware that he could be risking more than 30 years in prison. I asked him about this, and he did say, in quotes, "The Almighty says this is my calling in life. I'm being tempted by the devil with this plea, but I need to disclose these child sacrifices," which impairs his rational ability to look out for his own legal best interest, and that distraction is due to a psychiatric disorder consistent with delusional disorder.
Okay. And then so that last section, the seventh section, I think there, and you reviewed a disclosure about that related to that prong.
Yeah, so with me, he did not demonstrate any dangerous or threatening speech or behavior, certainly towards me or no one in particular, even individuals that he disagreed with, like Mr. Zickerman or the judge in this case. He made no threats to them or indication to do them harm. He just voiced a distrust in them. However, looking at the videos that are reviewed, he clearly struggled to engage within the courtroom setting appropriately. He had a difficult time being redirected and to allow the process to unfold without him interjecting into the conversation loudly his delusional beliefs.
And what was your assessment of his mental status at the time of that second evaluation?
Sure. So at that time, he appeared to have an elevation, in his rate and volume of speech. He did not voice any thoughts of harm or violence to himself or others, and he indicated that he was afraid for the safety, for his own safety, should he be released, and he felt the plea bargain was part of a plot or a plan to get him exposed. His memory and cognition, that means his ability to kind of recall things and formulate words, was not at all impaired. He seems like an intelligent person. He denied any auditory or visual hallucinations. He did not appear to be looking about the room as though he were responding to internal stimuli. He did voice multiple delusions associated with persecution and odd themes of sexuality and Satanism, as well as a belief that the legal system in general was trying to get him killed in order to keep him silent about some of the information that he feels he knows that must get exposed to the public for public safety and well-being.
And so previously you mentioned delusional disorder. What are the diagnostic criteria that, is it your opinion that that's the disorder that he has?
Yes, of the conditions that he has, it appears to be that delusional disorder is the most consistent. The DSM 5 in this case is a guidebook that allows people to have the ability to make diagnostic conclusions. No one typically meets all the criteria exactly, but typically the core feature is the presence of one or more delusions, which are fixed and false beliefs, not based in reality. They have to be present for at least 1 month. They have to have negative impact on the person's functioning, behavior, or overall success. They cannot exist in the presence of hallucinations, and he did not appear to have any, even though he referenced the Almighty was his calling. That seemed to be more religious and not based in illusions. Typically in this type of disorder, the delusions are not entirely impossible. For example, in schizophrenia or other delusional disorders, people may have belief that they have the ability to project their thoughts off of satellites and control the weather, or something that's just not possible. Some of the concerns that he has are based in orders and realities that do exist, things like COVID and Satanism and pedophilia, though they extend beyond the scope of any possible actual implementation. So a delusional disorder is typically not bizarre. It's somewhat grounded in a degree of reality. It's also not part of a larger religious or acceptable group of thinking. For example, if someone were to look at a religious belief, one could argue if there were only one person believing it, it would seem delusional. Christianity, for example. But if you have a billion people having a belief that is not supported necessarily by clear evidence or reality, we do not consider it a delusional disorder unless there's only one person or a very small number, 2 or 3 people, that might hang on to this belief. So he would meet criterion for a delusional disorder.
All right. And basically those delusions are affecting his ability to rationally work with counsel and proceed in this matter?
Correct.
Okay. And is delusional disorder treatable?
Yes.
How so?
It's a psychiatric disorder that would fall into the psychotic disorder category. Typically, it requires medications in the form of antipsychotics. The way these medications appear to work is as molecules. They enter the body, go into the brain, and they decrease the impact of dopamine, which is a naturally occurring neurotransmitter in the temporal lobes. when dopamine has the inability to attach to cells, delusional beliefs and psychosis in general greatly improve. Delusional disorder is amenable or treated with antipsychotic medications with reasonable efficacy to the point that he would likely be restored to competency with treatment.
Okay. And earlier you mentioned personality disorder. Does he meet those criteria or no?
He certainly appears to. In general, the American Psychiatric Association does not advise making diagnosis of personality disorders with one interaction. He does appear to have some of the features that would make me somewhat suspicious that he may have a personality disorder. He seems to have an elevated and grandiose sense of self, and that would be consistent possibly with narcissistic personality disorder, someone who generally tends to react poorly to criticism, generally tends to like to impose their wills or beliefs onto others. That would not be a diagnosis I can make within a clinical degree of certainty, certainly. He has some of the features, or initially when I saw him in October of 2023, some of the features of paranoid personality ideation, that individuals were out to hurt him or get him. However, those features seem to have expanded during his time in jail, maybe as a natural course of the illness, maybe as a degree of isolation, to the point where he is now clearly within the realm of delusions.
Okay. And basically, since you first met him in October 2023, everything has gotten worse, in your opinion?
That's in general, yes. His ability to engage rationally, to weigh the risks and benefits of legal options, his ability to appreciate the reality of the situation has markedly deteriorated.
And so do you have an opinion as to Mr. Smith's competency?
In my opinion, he is not competent to work with his attorney, largely, if not entirely, due to rational as opposed to factual impairments.
Okay. And do you have an opinion as to restorability of Mr. Smith?
I believe he could be restored to competency within a statutory time frame, provided he is adherent with appropriate antipsychotic medications to address his underlying functional psychosis.
And as to a facility, an inpatient facility, do you have an opinion as whether the state hospital or Yavapai restoration facility is more appropriate?
In general, the Arizona State Hospital could be a more likely outcome because they are willing to do the cells hearing. The cells hearing typically is something that I've found for some reason the Yavapai County Detention Center would not be willing to do. I suppose there are two ways. If he would be ordered to restoration, it would be reasonable to consider whether or not a cells hearing could or should be held before he goes, to make sure that he has that in place before he arrives there. And I don't know why the Yavapai Detention Center has been adverse to do these, but I've seen several cases come through where they just have not been willing to do a cells hearing there. I've noticed the Arizona State Hospital has been willing to do the cells hearing, and I would anticipate in this situation such a hearing would be necessary for competency restoration, given the fact that medications will be required. And in his absence of insight, I don't see him agreeing to take medications without a court order.
Okay. And just to follow up on that point, to your knowledge, has he been prescribed any medications? The nurse practitioner at the jail, who's the psychiatric care provider, has met with him, and he has refused medications based on my conversations with her. And just to answer your question, he has not been prescribed them because he has refused them. Okay. And so you're not aware of any antipsychotics that he's been prescribed as of today?
Correct. Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Tolbert.
Thank you. Dr. Linksey, you mentioned that you've done training on competency 4 times, most recently in 2011. How often are you required to do that training to be certified?
Oddly, you're not required at all to do it. I was surprised to learn that. When the first one I went to is 2001, and since then, a large number of people that do these are not trained, which is very odd. It's dependent upon the individual courts. The court can certify someone as an expert, even in the absence of the training through the Arizona State Supreme Court. And I believe I've done the trainings in 01, 04, 09, and 2011, and then they stopped doing them for a while, but they're doing one in August, so I'm going to go back and see it again. But they shortened it from 3 days to 1 day, so I don't know what they're going to be doing this time. But you're not required at all to be certified, which is surprising to me.
Okay, thank you. Now, you mentioned that the delusional disorder that you see in Mr. Smith is a psychosis, and that it must impair the ability to function in two realms. Is that right? The delusions and false beliefs can't be challenged, and they have to impair and function in two realms. Which realms did you decide he was unable to function in currently?
Well, the two that would come to mind immediately would be legal, and then the second one would be interpersonal or relationship-wise, in terms of the impact that his psychosis has on his ability to engage with other people, in particular. I guess you could look at the relationship with the alleged victim in this case too. So I would say interpersonal relationships and legal.
Okay, thank you. And then you said that in preparation for this evaluation, you had reviewed his documents and also spoken with the jail staff. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the jail staff did not report any issues, did they?
Correct. They did not. They said that he pretty much keeps to himself, stays under the radar, as it were, and does not engage much or cause any difficulty in the jail.
Okay. And so if he is able to stay under the radar, not engage much, not have any trouble in the jail, wouldn't that identify an ability to function in the interpersonal realms, even if it is a little bit introverted?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, that could be evidence of that skill set, the ability to avoid conflict. I guess I was thinking in his context of even interacting with me or interacting with the court system. Those are social environments that he was struggling to maintain a degree of interactional reciprocity. And I would also think, too, looking at his relationship with the victim in this case, again, I know he's innocent till found guilty. The actions that were alleged, at least, would be interpersonal impairments in the context of his belief system. So that, to me, would qualify as interpersonal impairments.
Okay. Is it proper to make a diagnosis based on a allegation that's not been proven in court?
Yes.
Okay.
Most things aren't proven in court, yet we make diagnosis off them all the time.
Okay. Next question is, as far as when you referred to his prior report in 2023 when you met with him in October, you said that the beliefs that he has right now are the same general beliefs that he had in 2023, but just with more intensity. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And those beliefs, having been his beliefs since 2023, therefore almost, I guess it'd be a year and a half later, would only become more entrenched during that period. They wouldn't become challenged because he's, as he says, not had a connection to the internet, not been interacting with his friends, not been having social meetings with his family. So those general beliefs would not be challenged and therefore would only be solidified by his time incarcerated. Is that right?
I see your point. I guess if I may just expand I do want to answer your question. If his belief system were a direct result of an environment that fostered this type of beliefs and it was supported and encouraged by a certain cultural set with these beliefs, the absence of that support system and reinforcement typically would decrease the belief system. For example, if you took a religious person that went to Mass every day and then they stopped going to church and they were not around people of the same beliefs, generally their belief system would diminish. In a psychotic belief system, the belief system typically does not and cannot rely on outside reinforcement for it to be a delusional belief. A delusional belief stems from within as opposed to a cultural belief which comes from without. So the fact that, I understand your question, it seems like contrary to the question, the fact that they have intensified in the absence of reinforcement and support would be much more common within a delusional disorder as opposed to a culturally or socially sanctioned belief system.
Well,
Does that make sense?
it does, but you mentioned religion as kind of an example, so let's kind of carry that out with a religious belief. If someone goes into the jail, has very strong Christian beliefs, when they're in jail, do we not see a very common situation where those beliefs are strengthened and intensified because that's all they have to hang on to?
And within the jail system, that is strongly encouraged by the presence of pastors, chaplains, and other individuals who continue to proselytize and bring Christianity to that population. On the flip side, someone who's very Islamic, you would see a decrease in Islamic beliefs within the jail because that is not a faith-based system that is supported within our jail system as compared to Christianity. But you are right, Christianity tends to increase in jail, whereas other religions such as Hinduism or Islam, as I perceive them, working with people over time, generally tend to decrease with the lack of reinforcement.
He mentioned that he feels that it's his calling to share this information about the vaccines and about the OTO and about the abuse of children. Is that right?
Yes.
And he says this is his calling, meaning he feels like the Almighty called him to this, that it's kind of God's given him a work to do. That's okay to have as a religious belief, correct?
Yes, I think it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's my place to say it's okay. It certainly would not be a disorder to feel that one has a calling in life, a calling to a greater good, a calling to a greater purpose.
Okay. So, and it wouldn't be delusion to believe that you have a place in this earth, you have a place in whatever God has set up on this earth for you to do, right?
Correct.
Okay. And when you evaluated him in October of 2023, you found him competent. Is that right?
Yes.
In spite of these different beliefs that are kind of on the fringe, divergent, I think is the way you called them, about vaccination and government conspiracies. Is that right?
Correct.
And particularly conspiracies, that would point to a paranoia, and I think you identified that as being a little bit paranoid at the time. Is that right?
Correct.
But and he's well educated and well versed in the information that he based these ideas about, these beliefs, these understandings about vaccination and conspiracies. Is that right?
Yes.
And even though those don't match up with what current and popular science teaches, science is a constant effort. It's always developing, it's always advancing, correct?
Correct.
What we knew 50 years ago is entirely different from what we know now.
I wouldn't say entirely. We've certainly grown upon it and noticed some errors, but the scientific process and methods remain the same, but we certainly learn more. And yeah, 50 years ago, there were a lot of things that we were wrong about that we have modified our beliefs now.
That's right. For instance, 50 years ago, homosexuality was in the DSM as a disorder, correct?
I think it was 58 they removed it, but it was you're correct. It was a disorder in one of the previous incarnations. I think DSM-1, but I think they revised that in 1958. But your point's still taken. I'm not trying to quibble on dates. Diagnoses do change over time. It could have been 50 years ago. I thought it was a little bit more. I can check it wrong.
You're probably more correct on the date, but it is a science advances, science evolves, correct?
Yes, your point is well taken, yes.
Okay. Always finding things that are wrong.
Yes.
So, for instance, Mr. Smith felt that the mRNA COVID vaccine changed cells and therefore caused people's cells to mutate, correct?
Right.
And that's
You are correct.
And that's loosely based on what people learn about RNA, DNA in the high school, is that when you change RNA, that changes the individual.
When you change RNA, that changes the individual. That wouldn't, I could see how that could be correct. RNA codes for protein. Protein makes up the individual. So, yeah, by definition, changing RNA would change the proteins that make up an individual, yes.
Yeah, so the reverse transcriptase would be different. Therefore, the person would change, and so he has these beliefs and he shares those with people, like-minded people. Is that right?
Correct.
And they all believe that the vaccine was no benefit to anyone on planet Earth, and that's based on both those scientific understandings as well as the efficacy of the vaccine and the amount of people that got COVID again in short order, sometimes multiple times. And that's not necessarily a delusional belief. That's just something that someone could have become a theory, something that they believe based on anecdotal evidence, based on scientific evidence, and a combination of the two. Is that right?
Correct.
And he has a very different cadence of speech, doesn't he?
Yes.
It's very fast, but it's not manic, is it?
No, he does not have the features of mania. He certainly speaks quickly, but not to the point where I would say it is disordered. I call it more stylistic. I think he has developed that probably as a very effective communication tool, and there's certainly nothing wrong with it or pathologic or psychiatrically wrong with it.
Okay. He is, and Judge, may I approach? May we approach? Excuse me.
You may. And Ms. Boliski, this is Judge Steinlage. I'm just going to instruct you, if you'll please refrain from making any comments in the group chat during the course of the hearing at this time. And that's all. And you may proceed with your cross-examination, Mr. Tolbert.
Thank you. Now, excuse me, sorry. Dr. Linksey, now, as in 2023, he understands what the judge does and what the prosecutor does. Is that right?
Correct.
And he knows what my job is?
Yes.
And he knew what you were doing?
Correct.
Knows what a plea is?
Yes.
Knows the effects of rejecting a plea?
Yes.
He wants to, and he indicated to you that he wants to present information to the jury in a trial, correct?
Correct.
He has a good vocabulary and good memory?
Yes.
No hallucinations?
No.
And the delusions are concerning things that we've talked about that there are, that maybe aren't backed by popular science, but have to do with this COVID vaccine. Is that right?
Some of them have to do with the COVID vaccine. Others have to do with the belief that there's a conspiracy against him in particular to have him killed to keep this information from being exposed. And I think that's what's concerning most for my competency concerns. I am much more, in general, a proponent of allowing people to be competent and express their views. However, I can't see him making a rationally good choice because he's afraid people are going to kill him if he leaves jail because of his beliefs. Therefore, he won't take a plea that clearly is in his better interest relative to the amount of time he could serve. Now, that said, I respect his right to have his beliefs. My concern is that his beliefs have gone to the point where he cannot be challenged in his own best interest legally, and he's going to expose himself to a phenomenal amount of risk because of a delusional belief system. That's what it comes down to for me.
Okay, could I have just a moment to talk to my client, Your Honor?
You may.
Dr. Linksey, did Mr. Smith share with you a link to a situation where someone had set a bomb in his car previous to this?
Yes.
Okay. Would that type of behavior, coupled with the current situation where a former romantic partner has betrayed him and accused him of crimes, would those types of things lead someone to be a little bit paranoid?
They would certainly lead someone to be a little bit paranoid, yes.
I mean, and I don't want to reiterate the same thing, but this is a situation where there is proof that his car was bombed, and then he has now been in jail for 2 years because someone has said that he did something outside of what they had agreed to in their relationship. And he believes that to be false. So if both of those things were done to him, that would make someone more than a little paranoid, wouldn't they?
I think it depends on it. It would certainly set someone up to be mistrustful, but it would not cause a delusional disorder. So it's, again, a varying degree. Again, in just years of doing this, having betrayals like that does not predispose someone or cause someone to have a delusional disorder. Delusional disorders appear to be largely genetically driven, and they're not based in experiences as much as they are the genetics of the illness process, unfortunately. But to answer your question, which I'm trying to do, yes, negative experiences will certainly lead to a sense of mistrust and paranoia.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to ask, and I'm trying to find my notes on what you said about that real quick, so I don't misquote you. You said that there's, oh, here we go. So delusional disorder, you have to have a false fixed belief present over a month, affect behavior or success, not hallucinating, and the delusions are not entirely impossible. Is that correct? Are those the right?
Correct.
Okay. But then you said that a schizophrenic belief, for instance, would be you can control the weather or the satellites can communicate with you, whereas a non-bizarre belief would be more of delusional disorder. Am I correct so far?
Yes.
Okay.
You're correct.
And that that this would be something that's not found within a religious belief. Is that right?
Correct.
So I guess my question is, most religions look at each other and think that they're experiencing magical thinking, right? People in Christianity believe that Zarathustra is not normal. People who are Hindu don't believe in Islam and believe that that's magical thinking. So how many people must believe in a conspiracy between the OTO and different groups in order for it to be a normative, be a normal, and be a non-delusional belief? I guess is my question. Is there a sample or size or what?
I don't have an exact number, especially with the internet, because you can't tell numbers. It's typically viewed as a belief system that's not reinforced or encouraged by some type of social organization or group. So I don't know a number. So I'm afraid I'm not qualified to answer that question. I don't know anyone that would share the beliefs that he has, largely because in this case, his beliefs are specifically about him. He believes that someone is going to kill him because if he were to expose this information, there are individuals in power that could be harmed, people in the OGO or Satanism. So I don't know of any evidence or can't imagine there's anyone who believes other than him that he will be killed if he leaves, perhaps beyond one or two other friends that he might have. But there's not any evidence of any kind of social reinforcement of these ideas.
Okay. Can I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Okay.
Dr. Linksey, are you aware of different proponents of anti-COVID vaccine information being assassinated and or murdered.
Your Honor, objection, relevance.
Could you repeat the question? I couldn't
Sure,
follow
yeah.
what you're saying.
I was asking the doctor if he is aware of different people who are anti the COVID vaccine that began in 2020 and is currently being used to treat COVID or prevent the COVID disease, if he is aware of people who speak out against it being killed or assassinated. That's the question. And the reason for my question, Judge, is just to try to explain a little bit the, I guess, quote-unquote delusion and or paranoia that the doctor exhibited in my client.
I'll allow it. Go ahead. If you can answer that.
Yeah, it's an honest, factual answer. I am not aware of anyone who has been assassinated for speaking out against the COVID vaccine.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. That's all my questions.
All right, redirect.
Just a few areas, Your Honor. And Dr. Linksey, when you spoke with the jail regarding Mr. Smith, did you, about his behavior in there, did you inquire if he was in a special pod or in segregation or anything like that?
My understanding was that he is in segregation, but I did not inquire specifically about that. That was based on where he came from when I did the interview with him, where the people are generally kept, but I did not inquire specifically about whether he was in segregation.
And based on just where he was being transported from, they typically don't have interaction with other inmates?
Correct.
Also, talking about your report back in 2023 regarding the rights under a plea agreement, I believe he said he would consider a plea. Is that correct?
I'm going to find that to make sure I'm correct. I knew he had a good understanding of it, and my recollection is that he would have considered a plea, but I don't see my verbiage specifically saying that. But I know we spoke about a plea, and he seemed open to it, but that's my recollection. And I may have written it in here somewhere, but I'm not seeing it straight away.
Okay. And I think it would be that to discuss the options of a plea. He knows.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, under 6, there it is. Just when you said that, I said, when we discuss the options of a plea, he notes he would consider it, given the years he might be facing, though he notes he feels he will be vindicated once his story can be explained to the court. But he did say he would consider it, yes.
Okay. However, now it appears that in April 2025, he's not going to consider that at all.
That's what he shared with me, correct.
And that's because of these thoughts or delusions that people are going to kill him if he is released.
Correct.
Okay. And when you say these people, it's not just one group of people. It sounds like it's several institutions. Is that right?
Yes, he expressed fear that myself with the Guidance Center were part of a group that wanted to kill him as well. So it seemed like a pretty wide-reaching group of people that might be conspiring to kill him in order to keep the information he feels he has out of the public domain.
Okay. And that also included prior councils?
Yes.
The Mormon Church?
I believe so, yes.
I think Church of Satan, I think it is.
Yes.
Also the Order Templus Orientis.
Yes.
And I think gay activists as well.
Yes.
Okay. And also the court.
I think in general, yeah, there's a mistrust of the court system, including the presiding judge in this case.
And it's that those beliefs cannot be challenged.
I saw no ability to challenge them, or he demonstrated no ability to consider any facts that were outside the sphere of his own fixed belief system.
And that was different from October 2023 when he would at least discuss those issues with you.
Yes, when we discussed it before, it was much more of a give and take, an ability to exchange information. He listened to my understanding of the research. I listened to his understanding. In some ways, we, in quotes, agreed to disagree respectfully. This was a very different interactional style where he was not open to considering any other options than the ones he had, and most concernedly, his beliefs were impacting his ability to make self-care choices that were of a positive legal outcome with a very large risk of legal injury as a result of his delusions.
And specifically those rational decisions in the court process.
Correct.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
And Judge, just as a point of order, not an order, I don't know what this point is, but for judicial notice, when I say OTO, I'm referring to the Order Templar Orientis.
To be frank with you, I had no idea what you were referring to when you said OTO, but I found it in Dr. Linksey's most recent evaluation. So then I assumed that that's what you were referencing. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Judge.
And Your Honor, may I just, this is just for my own brain. It wasn't until 1987 that the DSM removed homosexuality as a disorder. So we were both I was embarrassingly more wrong than the counsel was, but it's only been less than 30 years that homosexuality was removed. So that's an example of how information and knowledge has changed. I just wanted to clarify that for the court, just as just a point of acknowledging that sometimes we're just wrong.
All right, I appreciate that. While we have Dr. Linksey here, has everybody asked everything that they wish to ask of Dr. Linksey?
Yes, Your Honor. State has.
Yeah, ask him.
Okay, this one, I'm going to try to make you help me if I miss something here. Okay, no, I'll ask it. I've got to ask. Are you aware of the video where one of the leaders of the Order Templar Orientis, the OTO, requests that children be in attendance of the Gnostic Catholic Mass?
Your Honor, state objects. Relevance.
I'll allow it if Dr. Linksey can answer.
I am not aware of that video, no.
Thank you.
I shared it with him and he's lying.
Is that, sorry, just to follow up, was that shared with you or by Adam Smith, or is that something that he shared with you while you were visiting in 2025?
He shared with me that there was the presence of the video. So through him, he did tell me about it, but I am not aware firsthand of having seen the video, no.
He didn't open up the links the way he took pictures of with his camera.
Okay, so that would be one of the links that you did not open that Adam Smith provided to you, correct?
He provided me some links. Some of them opened, some of them didn't. I know I tried about 3 or 4. 2 of them worked, a couple of them didn't. I may have tried that one, but I cannot go under oath and say I know I tried that one. But I tried about 4 of the links that he gave me, and I don't remember seeing anything like that.
I gave him dozens of links.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
How is it delusional if in Aleister Crowley's book, The Book of the Law, chapter 3, verse 12, it says, sacrifice capital, little and big, conquer a child. There is clearly a published doctrine of child sacrifice within the OTO. How is it a delusion to point out Aleister Crowley, founder of the OTO's own written words, please?
I don't think that one's going to be relevant.
It is relevant because he said that it's a delusion that the OTO has a doctrine of child sacrifice.
Okay, let me ask that question then. Did you, Dr. Linksey, is it your testimony today that it is delusional to think that the OTO has a doctrine of child abuse?
No.
Okay, so he's not saying that. Thank you, that's all our questions. Right?
All right, thank you. May Dr. Linksey be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your time this afternoon, Dr. Linksey, and you are excused.
Thank you so much to everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right, is there anything, at this time, I'm not going to try to, oh no, we did set that. We already set the follow-up date. So is there anything else that we need to address today?
And just a housekeeping question, Your Honor. I know Dr. General was appointed for the Assistance of Defense Counsel. Typically, when a Rule 11 evaluation is done, I send all media reports to the guidance center or the doctor. Since it's under Assistance of Counsel, I don't know if it'd be appropriate for me to send it to him, making sure he has all the same information Dr. Linksey had and Dr. Pardee. I don't know if counsel can avow that all the same information has been sent or not.
Judge, I think that if the state's willing to do that, we would like them to send that on to Dr. General. That would be.
Do you have any issue with that, Mr. Noble?
No, I'm fine to sending it on. That way it's all the same.
That I think that would make the testimony the most useful to the court if everybody was exposed to as much of the same things as possible. So if he is doing a Rule 11 evaluation, I didn't appoint him under Rule 11, but if he's doing a Rule 11 evaluation, I think that would be appropriate. And it would make his testimony more informative to the court if he's on the same page in terms of the kind of intake of information along with his time working with Mr. Smith.
Okay, and just for the court and for counsel for the state's information, Dr. General did visit with Mr. Smith on Friday, so right now I believe he's probably starting his report.
Okay, thank you. I'll get the exhibits back to the clerk, and with that, we are adjourned for today.
Thank you.